Welcome YouTube and fellow scale modelers. I'm excited to present to you a cheap alternative to making your scale models move. Muscle cars, coupes, you name it. At Walmart I bought this Adventure Force Mustang for about 12 bucks. It's non-proportionate, but still you can have fun with it around the house. I just had to modify the chassis since the wheelbase was a little too long for a coupe, or you can elongate the chassis to make it fit a muscle car. Here are some of the parts that I had to remove. One of these square pieces on each side were actually connected up front. You can sort of see right there, those edges, they were just one on each side. I cut those so that the chassis, the motor bay can fit in between. In addition, back here, to remove the motor, you simply pinch those two clips that are attached to this motor piece and remove it. Once you have done so, you can cut this piece of plastic on the back section off like I have done, and in the end it creates a flat back surface, and then cutting those clips off this piece makes that surface flat. And you can see I have glued it together, which shortens the chassis, making it able to fit the 1/25th scale model. I also turned the RC car into a scale model by using an X-Acto blade to cut the hood off. Gonna make hinges, and then you can remove the plastic, and I have an extra scale model chassis, so I'll have the whole motor assembly, the interior. It'll be nice. That's an addition of what you can do with that. The stock rear wheels have a cylinder that rides onto the main axle shaft, but it enters through there, and when you try and put the model wheel, it can't even reach to the shaft. So I just simply chop that end off on each side, which now reveals the axle shaft. It's actually still too wide, so what I need to do is cut this about there on each side. I'll show you that process soon. The last step is a little difficult. It's back here where the steering is. You remove those screws, take this plastic assembly off, and then you can take the steering knuckles off on each side, which have the front wheel connected to them with this sort of miniature nail going through it and securing it. The reason why it's difficult is this nail has a serrated edge which actually grabs onto the plastic very tight. I'm lucky that I even got them out without breaking that. So what I will be doing is sanding that off to where they're easy to insert and remove with just a little bit of hot glue on the back side to secure it, so that I can easily change the scale model wheels. I'm not going to be buying two RC cars, one for the muscle car and one for the small coupe. I'm just going to be using the same one, and whether I want to use the smaller car, I just have the chassis in the shortened version, and or I will have probably just some sort of spacer, which enables me to have the longer wheelbase. The card takes 3 AA's and the remote takes 2. If you're going with dollar store batteries, I recommend on the car use the high drain, and on the remote use the low drain. I just used a Sharpie and made some marks on the axle. Now we're going to cut it. Here we have the chopped axle. I'm just going to sand it, make the edges flat. Took about that much material off on each side. And then for the front wheels, the pins, I just simply inserted them into the drill and sanded them down until they don't have that serrated edge, so that they can easily insert into the steering knuckle and be removed. Alright, and then I want to talk about mounting the wheels. You can just assemble it, rubber front rim, and then the back portion. On the front you just use the pin. Use the pin and you push it in, assemble the wheel, and then put it into the steering knuckle, assemble that. The rear is the same process, it's just you just insert the screw on the center rim and then screw it onto the axle. And I would actually recommend, before you completely tighten it, add a drop of hot glue to secure it, because actually sometimes the wheel will loosen and come off on its own, and hot glue you could just kind of snap apart easily, but it secures it. And then this is just my preference. I only use bodies that fit. If it has a molded firewall, I'm not going to chop up the body because I like to keep them box stock. Also, this won't work for this RC car unless you do not mind chopping that. But like I said, I like to keep the value in the models. In case I didn't want it on the RC car, I could just build it into the model without having it being butchered. That's just my preference. You can do as you please. I try to use kits that have an open firewall so no cutting is necessary and it fits right into the steering. That is a 71 Duster kit. The Z28 Works charger and Trans Am work. They all have that open firewall system. So I have this 95 Mustang kit that I'm building in another video. If you want to stay tuned, check it out. I'm currently in the process. It had a defected body. You could see there it's filled in with JB weld. And I'm going to sand it down to make it look like the rest of the body. Finally, we have reached the end of the build. You know, you can put your chassis on, mount it with magnets, or simply use hot glue on the bottom on these areas right here. And that way it'll just simply secure, and then you can pop it off when you're done. So that's how you make your model cars into RC, and that's it for this video. Make sure you stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be adding headlights, taillights, and finishing and painting the body. Also, I have a couple other model kits I'm going to be building. Take care, everybody.